Welcome everyone to our weekly Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading for the week of November 6th to 10th, 2017. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. Okay, so as usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our Forex Factory calendar for this week. So we have daylight savings time shift in both Canada and the US this week. So we are back in alignment to our normal time with Europe this week. So last week it was quite busy in terms of news here. We had a lot of central banks, and looks like we have the same this time as well. So biggest one last week was Bank of England, and they did a dovish rate hike. So they did raise rates, but it was dovish. They were not very positive about the economy. They were concerned about the impact that Brexit will have, and also they were concerned about just the general rate of growth in the economy and the inflation going forward. So coming up this week, we have more central banks coming. Anytime there are central banks involved, it usually creates a big move in the market. So starting the week off, we have inflation from New Zealand. So inflation is a good, important number. So we'll keep that. And then we have Bank of Japan, Governor Kuroda speaking. They haven't, when Bank of Japan had their policy statement, they did not change anything. However, any commentary will have an impact on the market. So I would keep an eye on that. We have PMI numbers on Monday, but they're all yellow, so they're not the final ones. PMI numbers are important though, so I do like to keep an eye on them because they're precursor to our retail sales numbers. So that's why they are important. We do have Dudley speaking in the US session on Monday, but in terms of red news, not a whole lot till we get to the our Asian session, and there we have Reserve Bank of Australia. We have the interest rate statement. They're not expected to raise rates. So Australia hasn't done an interest rate hike in some time now. So market will definitely be looking at now. We have had US do an several interest rate hikes. We have seen Canada. We have seen, who else did we see? We have seen Bank of England do an interest rate hike now. So all eyes will be on the central banks, especially Reserve Bank of New Zealand and Australia, because they're all commodity currencies aligned with Canada. So all eyes will be on them to see if there is any commentary. So even if they don't, excuse me. So even if they don't do an interest rate hike, market will be watching for their comments to see if they are supportive of a growing economy or not. If they are, then that will be positive for Australia here. Otherwise, it would not be very good. Okay, ECB, we have President Draghi speaking Tuesday here, so that anytime there's central bank speaking, again, there will be impact on the market. So we'll keep an eye on that. Going into the US session here, not a whole lot in the morning, but then we have Bank of Canada Governor Polas, and shortly after we have Fed Chair Yellen speaking. Now Yellen is getting replaced in January at the end of her term. So again, really what the market is looking for is an indication whether Fed is going to do another rate hike next month or not. So that's really what we are going with. Same with Bank of Canada. When can the market expect another interest rate hike? Wednesday here, we have New Zealand. So both Australia and New Zealand, we have the monetary policy statements this week. Again, so this will have an impact on New Zealand here as well. Not a whole lot in terms of other important news. We have oil inventories, which will have an impact on the Canadian dollar crosses. And that's pretty much it for Wednesday here. Going into Thursday, we have unemployment claims, so not a whole lot of data in the London session. Unemployment claims for the US, which will be important. So here we have Swiss National Bank Chairman Jordan speaking. So many different central bankers speaking. So while they're speaking, I do not like to be in the trade for that particular currency. So just keep that in mind because it can create volatility in the market. And then in the Asian session, we have RBA monetary policy statement. Again, this could be a market moving depending on what is said earlier. Friday, manufacturing production numbers. So all in all, there are a lot of central bankers, but aside from that, not a whole lot of red news besides that. Okay, so let's go on to the charts here now. We will start off with our euro dollar. So euro dollar, we have seen that last week price went up, did a back test of this level now. So based on the way price has closed, this is closed to the downside. So this looks bearish from technical perspective here. So I'm looking for price to move down lower, and the target here would be this 1.1450 level, the next support or resistance level, right into the bottom here, looking for this candle to get filled here. So the bias is still to the downside, and as we can see, price has been making lower highs. So bearish bias for euro dollar, and my target would be 1.1450. Pound here with the dovish rate hike, we got a drop, and now we have seen a pullback. But again, price had stayed below this 1.3130 level. So as a result, I'm looking for price to move down further here. And this will be into this 1.2920 level, back into the bottom of this. However, we do need to see a break of this 130.40 level. So if you do not see a break of 130.40, then price could go in the other direction. And that's the risk. It could go back up. So a break of 1.3040 is very, very important, because if it stays above, then I'm looking for price to go back into this 130. But overall, the bias is to the downside. So the move that I'm expecting would be something like this. Price breaks through this 130.40 level and then continues on to the downside into a 129.20 level. So bias is to the downside for pound dollar as well. Aussie here, Aussie, we do have the news coming out. So as a result of that, we could see volatility in this. But otherwise, the bias is still to the downside. Last week, our bias was to the downside. And now we are looking for the same thing, essentially I'm looking for further move to the downside. It hasn't cleared this previous low though. So that will be important. So I want to see a break of the previous low at 76.20 level. And once price breaks down to that, then I'm looking for 75.20 and then further into 73.50-ish level or 73.80 level to the downside here. Now, because there is RBA scheduled for this week, that could completely change things, because central banks, their statements will trump price action any day. So keep that in mind, because if they are positive, this could go back up. But overall, from technical perspective, I am bearish on Aussie dollar. Okay, so New Zealand US dollar. So New Zealand, we had talked about how it was into support. This is an important support that we haven't seen the price break since February, and we were not able to break this back in January either. So entire year, we have not been able to break the support level. So very, very important support level. However, based on the weekly candle close here, this is a very neutral candle close. So we have pins to both sides, small candle body, so very, very neutral in terms of the weekly close. Overall, though, this looks bearish because we are still making lower highs. So this could be a pullback, and then we need to see a break of 0.6820 level before the price will continue to the downside. So in this case, we could see price go up and then come back down again. So 0.700 will be the level that I would be looking for a potential short here. But overall, the bias is to the downside. We do need to see a break of 0.6820, and once the price breaks, I'm looking for something like that. So the target to the downside is 0.6680 level, which will be the bottom of this candlestick over here. So my bias is to the downside for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD has come into this support and resistance here. Looking at the daily chart here, price has been in this a bit of a, it was in a range and then it has broken to the downside here. So now I'm looking for, so this looks bearish. Canadian dollar has been strong. So now if the price breaks below this low, 1.27, it holds below 27.20 level, then I'd be looking for price to move down lower into this 124.50 level, coming back down this way. But this one here, I will be cautious with this. So oil has been doing well, which has been driving the Canadian dollar. As a result of that, dollar CAD has dropped. So I'm basically looking for a further move to the downside. But if the price doesn't break this level, if it does not break 127.20, or it could come into this level here, and then we could see price do one of these and continue on with this trend line from a previous trend line. So that's something where I would be cautious with this. So I would check. So that would be the first target. So price to come down into 126.20 level. If it holds above, then we're looking for a further move to the upside. But if it breaks down here, then I'm looking for 124.50. So this one we'll have to watch and see where it goes. Okay, Euro Pound. Euro Pound has been all over the place. It has traded in this range for a while. It has struggled with this 87.50 support and resistance level here. So for now, this the candle close is quite neutral to bullish in terms of our weekly close. For now, this is, again, we'll have to wait and see. We are seeing this little trend line to the downside where price is making lower highs, but it hasn't been able to break this 87.35 level. So we could see this type of a move to the downside, a retest of the trend line, and then a further move to the downside. The target would be 87.35. So I'm still looking for price to retest the bottom of this. So if it breaks through, then we are looking for 85.80 level. Otherwise, price could just bounce around in here because that's what the price has done for the last several weeks now. So first target, my target is to the downside, 87.35. And if that clears, only then would I look for 85.80 level to the downside. Otherwise, this will be back into the range and price may just bounce off of the bottom here and go back. So something like this, and go back towards the top of the range and just shuttle around and do one of these, comes to the top and then bounces off again. So for now, range bound, looking for test of the bottom again here. Okay, Euro Swiss franc, we have had, this looks like a nice evening star formation. So I'm looking for price to move lower here. We do need to see a break of this trend line. We had talked about this trend line last week, I believe. So now I need to see a break of the trend line, but this looks, so we have got a lower high now. We have evening star formation, so I'm looking for price to come down, and the target here is 1.1560 level, this support resistance level to the downside. So we'll have to see, and the move that I would be looking for here would be price kind of does this, breaks down, back test, and then a drop. So that's the move I am expecting. My bias is to the downside for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc here. Pound Swiss franc, we have a nice candle close here, nice bearish pin bar. So let me just remove these. Okay, so it's a nice bearish pin bar. So I'm looking for price to come back lower, and the target here would be 127.80 level, back into the bottom of this range that it's been trading in for a while. So looking for price to drop. It could take some time to get into 127.80 level, but I'm looking for price to move towards that target. This is a nice little pin bar, bearish pin bar. So looking for a drop here. Dollar Swiss franc. Hasn't done much. So if you take a look at the daily view, it's just sort of shuttled around in that range the entire week. So right now it is still bullish, but it's losing momentum. So if you take a look at the candlesticks here, see how the candlestick bodies are getting smaller here. So this is quite small. So at this point, it could go either way. Right now, it is bullish, so I'm looking for further move to the upside, but we do need to see the price clear the high here. If it does not clear the high, it could drop. So especially if the other Swiss franc pairs continue their drop, this could drop here as well. But for now, I will keep, I'm going to be bullish on this, but if it does not break this 1.0038 level, then it could do this. So I'll be open to direction for dollar Swiss franc. Let's take a quick look at yen crosses here. So this is our, this is pound yen. So we have a pin bar. So we were seeing price pushing up higher, but the candles were getting quite small. So now we saw a little pin bar. Now we have seeing a bigger doji here. So I'm looking for price to drop 146.98. So about 147.00 will be my first target. Then I'm looking at 144.00 will be the second target to the downside. So I'm looking for basically price to come back, move back lower. So bearish for pound yen. Euro yen here. Okay, so this is our euro yen. Let's get rid of extra lines here. We are in a range. We have stayed in this range for several weeks now, so still a range-bound move. But now we have our very, very bearish candle here. So as a result of that, we could see a break to the downside. However, I do want to see a break first, and then we will have a direction to the downside. So for now, I'm going to treat this as a range-bound move, but what I would be looking for is price to go up and then break down and come towards 129.50 area. The most important criteria here would be the break of 131.50 level. So if price manages to break below this, then we're looking for a further move to the downside. But if price comes to the bottom here, 131.50, and then bounces off, I'm looking for price to go back towards the top of the range and then be range bound. So 134.50 would be my potential short, and 130, 150 could be a potential long, depending. If it breaks that level to the downside, then I'm looking for a further move to the downside. I do like this bearish engulfing close though, but price has not managed to break lower. So that will be the test. If it can break below 130, 150, then it's going to come down. Otherwise, I'm looking for it to move back towards the top of the range. Aussie here. Aussie yen looks bearish. We had a bearish candle close. So this one here is indecision, hasn't really done much. So the bias from the previous week continues. I'm looking for price to move lower, and the target would be 85.50 level, which is into the bottom here. So looking for price to drop further for Aussie yen. Now Aussie, we do have the Reserve Bank of Australia monetary policy announcement. That could completely change things for all Australian crosses, so keep that in mind. This one is looking bullish, dollar yen. We have had 2 weeks of pretty neutral closes, but this week we have seen actually a bullish candle close in this. So it's even though it's looking neutral, but the close is higher. So we could see the price move up higher into 114.80 here, or even into 115.00 level. So that will be the target to the upside, and beyond that I'm looking for 116.20. So this one still has bullishness in it, but it's just been going sideways for now, so we'll have to be careful with this one. Okay, so last couple of crosses here. This is looking bullish. Nice bullish close, and the next target would be 90.50 and then 91.80 to the upside. So CAD yen looks bullish. Okay, last one here. This is New Zealand yen. New Zealand yen is looking bullish here as well. So we could see a move back into this 80.50 level. But overall, though, bigger trend is to the downside. So I would be cautious because we could get stuck perhaps at this 80 level, and then price could get stuck there and then turn around. But for now, I'm looking for price to move up higher into 80.00 level. So bullish on New Zealand yen. All right, so that's all I have. Any questions or anything to add? All right, so we'll call it a wrap. If you guys would like to find out more about me or my services, please visit tradingwithvenus.com, and you can look at different courses that I offer. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend and a wonderful trading week, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.